I mean, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I said the person was of the view that the president is doing this to discredit, the presidential candidate, or rather, the presidency is doing this to discredit the presidential candidate of their own party. And I said, to what end? Why would the president want to discredit or make his own party lose? And this is the last election that he's going to experience as president. So again, you who's watching, and you who's a social commentator, what do you think this is all about?
Well, it's all a little bit interesting. I think this goes beyond the president himself, and it also goes beyond the presidential candidates themselves. I think that what you're seeing here is entrenched interests. So let's remember, it's not just a presidential election we're having. And it's not just about the president. The president has a whole stack of people who work with him, who work around him, who are also interested in the outcome. They have access to him. They can influence his thoughts. Just like any leader, you influence the thoughts of a leader by having access and being able to put your argument forward. You see him coming. He doesn't always see you coming. So there's all of that going on. Is he actually making these decisions based on logical judgments, decisions, information? Or is he thinking, well, I want free and fair elections, and somebody has sold me the idea that actually if you deprive people of the cash to spend for the elections, it will actually make them a little bit more honest in terms of how they vote. The problem is, as I said earlier, there are lots and lots of other candidates on the day. There are governors, there are members of the House of Representatives, there are members of the Senate, there are,
state houses of assembly.
Yes, exactly. So, the interests are plenty, and all of them need money. They need money for paraphernalia on the day, T-shirts, transport, lunch. There are all sorts of ways in which money is spent in an election that isn't necessarily the buying of votes. Vote buying has probably happened already.
When I hear this narrative of the presidency trying to do something by doing something to cash, I look at it as you have a house filled with rodents, and instead of fumigating, you burn down the house. It's looking like, because you want to achieve one aim, like you said, there are many angles. There's a spectrum.
Absolutely.
Does this demarcate the ruling party?
Okay, I think you've got to overlay this as well with the petrol shortages.
Yes.
Okay, because that impacts everything else.
It does too.
If this was just an isolated case of we're changing the currency, let's go do it, then I think people can probably find ways of adapting. I think what makes it a little bit suspicious for most people is the fact that
they're happening at the same time.
Happening at the same time. People are reporting to ATMs, not to work. Okay? I mean, that can't be right. Some people are going to lose their jobs because they went to the ATM to collect last month's salary, and the boss says, hey, well, you didn't turn up, you've lost your job. So they're in double jeopardy. In terms of, whether it's going to demarcate the ruling party, I think to a certain extent it is. Because a lot of people who are undecided, and I must admit, I don't know what the percentage of undecided voters are, but if I was an undecided voter, I would be judging the government of the day to the very last day.
True that.
And if I'm in the situation where, on the last day, my children ask me for something, or my wife asks me for something, or somebody I owe money, I can't pay them, I've got to blame somebody.
True.
And I'm going to blame,
who's in charge?
the people who are in charge. There are great efforts that people are going to now to separate, the ruling party or the ruling clan from the rest of the gang.
Ridiculously, I must say.
Absolutely, all of that is going on. On the other side, you've got, parties saying, look, don't extend it. And that in itself, the people who are suffering are saying, hang on, is this the guy, or are these the people that are going to come in who are saying that don't make it easier? So, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah.
We don't know. But my sense is that the ruling party is going to have to carry the can on this one.
True.
And the chances are that they're going to lose more votes than the other side because they've got more airtime.
What's your, I hate to do this, but what's the prognosis for February 25th?
Yeah, I see why you say you hate to do this.
Yes.
So, look, my own view is that if the security agencies do a good job of giving people confidence to go out, then it increases the chances that the date will hold. If they don't, then effectively the parties that think they will suffer from people not being ready to go out will begin to challenge the position with lawsuits. I think there's a big threat of lawsuits actually scuppering the election date itself. If your question is, who do I think is likely to win? I think it's going to be a very closely run race.
Do you see a rerun in the radar?
I think potentially there is a rerun. I think that the two established parties have a lot of a very strong basis in terms of numbers, very strong recognizability in terms of their logos, which we've just been talking about. The new joiner to the party doesn't so much have that, but has encouraged and excited the electorate to go and register and get their PVCs. So for that reason, it's a tough one to call, but I think potentially there might be a rerun. I don't see a clear winner, but who knows?
Interesting days ahead, I guess.
Indeed. It is.